Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. So this is our assigned report, which is the assuring model, together with Miss Rina and Lucilia. What is assuring model? The assurer model is a systematic plan for instructors to use when planning classroom use of media and technology. The primary goal of this model is to produce effective learning approach. These goals is to serve as a guide for teachers in planning and conducting instruction using instructional technology. So for all we know, these model are very essential for the students as well as the teachers because this will be the bridge wherein the students could gain more vital understanding. The Assure model have a six steps each represented by a letter by the acronym title. Each steps describing a set of tasks essential to inform selection and use for integrational technology. The Assure model stand for important components. First, A for analyzed learners. S for states objectives. S for select methods, media and materials. U for utilize methods, media and materials. R for require learner participation. A for evaluate and revise. Now, let's discuss the components of models. First step is to analyze learners. To analyze the learners, you need to find out the characteristic of the students, including grade, age, ethnic group, sex, mental, emotional, physical, or social problems. And it is very important to identify the students so that they consider students in developing goals. The weakness and strength of the students must be discovered through this task that a teacher will assign to them in a classroom according to students' capability. In state standards and objectives, we need to be specific, state terms of what students will be able to do in which they can easily get of what was your point. As a teacher, you must be able to create a good and understanding instructions para madali lang nila maintindihan kung ano ang ibig mong iparating sa kanila. For example, at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to write clear learning objective using the ABCD method. The students will be the audience. Right is the behavior. Using the ABCD method is the condition, and word clear is now the degree. Once you know your audience and have a clear idea of what you should get out the lesson, and this is the time you select appropriate methods. For a giving meaning test, select available materials or assign materials to modify new materials or choose suitable format to have an accomplishment task. For example, the teacher should figure out which materials will be the best for his or her instruction. Si teacher, ang ginagamit niyang strategy ay demonstration, teaching. Tapos the technology that the teacher used for demonstration is laptop for presenting of his or her the said lesson. The utilized methods, media, and materials steps is where you develop your plan for implementing your media and materials. For each type of media or materials, the teachers select and describe in how they are going to implement the media into your lesson to help your learners meet the lesson objective. The media, materials, and technology selected should be focused on carrying out the selected method. Next, prepare the room, the necessary equipment, and facilities. It may be obvious, but both the learners and teacher should be prepared for the learning experience. There are 5 Ps process under the utilizing the technology, media, and materials. First, review the technology, media, and materials. As a teacher, you need to determine first what appropriate materials that suit to your students as well as to your lesson so that the teacher will not fail of his or her plan when student can perform in their assigned task. Second, prepare the technology, media, and materials. This is the time that you need to gather all the things that you will need to teach the lesson. Example, PowerPoint presentation, video presentation, projector, laptop, and more. This technology helps the teacher in how to have better learning to the student through these devices. Third, prepare the environment. Dapat, as a teacher, you need to prepare everything, not only the things, but also the surrounding. Make sure that the students will be comfortable during your class discussion in order for them to not distort. Fourth, prepare the learners. This is a very essential aspect because as a teacher, you must need what the learners should prepare as to what the learner's objective will accomplish during the class discussion. Last, provide the learning experience. As a teacher, you need to share your knowledge and experiences to your students. Through with this, the students will acquire more learning and they will be interested by your discussion. Require learner participation. This step, the teacher should convince his or her students to listen on his or her discussion. You should seek to pay close attention to your learners and feel confident that they are truly grasping the content and not just listening. Participating in the learning will facilitate this level of understanding. Whatever your teaching strategy, be sure to incorporate questions and answers, discussions, group work, hands-on activities, and other ways of getting students actively involved in the learning of the content. Evaluate and revise. This is the final step in the assure process. Ultimately, this stage is the most important. You must evaluate the instruction process from start to finish using the objective you created in the beginning. It is helpful to reflect on your objections, the instructional strategy, the instructional materials, and the assessment. By evaluating the learners against the objectives, it can be determined if the lesson was effective and whether any step needs to be modified or re-examined.
I will discuss to you the six components Azure Model Lesson Plan. The first part of Azure Model Lesson Plan is analyzing learners. Under the analyzing learners are general characteristics. Participants in this class are standard 8 pupils. The class is limited to 20 pupils to ensure personal attention, adequate understanding, and follow-up. Next is entry characteristics. The pupils should have basic knowledge based on common understanding and observation and the surrounding. They should be in a position to explain the structure of different teeth among animals. Last is learning styles. This lesson will use methods that appeal to verbal individual work as well as a small and large group discussion. The second part of a short model lesson plan is objectives. By the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to A. Draw a diagram of a tooth, B. State the function of each part of a tooth, C. Compare the teeth of a dog and that of a sheep. The third part of a short model lesson plan is methods, media, and materials. In methods, the teacher will begin the lesson with a brief introduction and overview explaining the parts and functions of a tooth with the help of diagram of a tooth. The pupils will then form a discussion groups and samples of different animal skull will be distributed. This will help them in comparing the teeth of a dog and a sheep. In media and materials also, the teacher uses a books, chalk, and blackboards. In this lesson will be used for interpretation. The charts and the models will also be used for demonstrations. The fourth part of a short model lesson plan is utilizing media and materials. Under the utilizing media is review the materials. The teacher should have fully covered and researched on the topic before introducing it to the pupils. He or she should be aware of all types of teeth, their functions, and should be able to answer any question posed by the pupil related to the topic. Next is prepare the materials. The teacher should ensure that the charts and the models are ready for before the beginning of the lesson. Enough books, among other teaching and learning resources, should be able or available and ready to distribute to the pupils. Next is prepare the environment. The teacher should check that the classroom is in order for adequate comfort and to ensure that it is proper for teaching and learning process. This includes adequate lighting, proper ventilations, good seating arrangements, and classroom should be swept. And last is prepare the learner. The lesson will begin with an introduction by a familiar song related to a proper maintenance of the teeth. There will be icebreaker and overview of the parts and functions of the teeth, and the books will be distributed by the teacher that will allow pupils to follow along with the teaching. The fifth part of a short model lesson plan is required learner participation. Under the required learner participation, it involves the initial activities. After introductions, icebreaker, and overview of the parts and functions of a tooth, the teacher will take the pupils through systematic steps for understanding. The class will then participate in manageable discussion groups, 7 to 12 members, meant to allow the learners to discuss among themselves and ask questions related to the topic. And the sixth part of a short model lesson plan is evaluate and revise. The lesson will close with a brief summary from the teacher. Question and answer method will be used for evaluation and revision. The question will be include what are the differences of a dog and sheep teeth. B. With the help of diagram, draw and state the function of the thought. And that is how the Azure model integrated into a lesson plan.